At the corner of a small shop, he stopped. In the window was a display of football shoes, bright, clean, and far too expensive. He pressed his hand against the glass, staring at them. His own shoes had holes at the front, the laces torn, the soles barely holding together. He smiled weakly. "Someday," he whispered. "Someday I'll wear those." When he reached home, the small one-room apartment smelled of paint and wet clothes. His father sat by the window reading the newspaper. "You're late," he said without looking up. Ryan mumbled, "Practice ran long." His father sighed. "Ryan, you're not a kid anymore. It's time to think about your future." Ryan stayed silent, water dripping from his hair onto the floor. "You can't keep doing this to yourself," his father continued. "Dreams don't feed us. Reality does." Ryan wanted to shout, to explain how much football meant to him, but the words got stuck in his throat. He simply nodded and went to his small bed near the corner. The roof leaked slightly, and he could hear the drops tapping on a metal bucket. Lying there in the dim light, he stared at the cracked ceiling. His muscles ached. His heart ached even more. He thought about quitting, about letting go of everything. Maybe his father was right. Maybe some people were just not meant to win. But then his eyes fell on a small picture taped to the wall beside his bed. A photo of a young football player holding a trophy, smiling wide. It was Ryan himself 2 years ago when he had won his first school match. He remembered that feeling, the rush, the pride, the joy of victory. He remembered how everyone had clapped, how his father had smiled that day for the first time in months. That memory sparked something deep inside him. He sat up suddenly. The rain outside had slowed to a whisper. The world was quiet, but inside Ryan's chest, a storm was raging, not of pain this time, but of determination. He took a deep breath, wiped his face with the back of his hand, and whispered, "If I give up today, I'll never know what tomorrow could have been." Those words filled the room like a spark lighting a candle in the dark. He stood, grabbed his ball, and stepped outside again. The night air was cold, and the streets glistened under the streetlights. His shoes squished against the wet pavement, but he didn't care. He walked back to the field, the same field that had witnessed his defeats. The floodlights were off, and the world seemed asleep, but Ryan wasn't. He placed the ball in the middle of the field, his breath visible in the chilly air. "One more time," he said quietly. "Just one more." He began to run, kicking the ball through the mud, slipping, falling, standing up again, over and over. His legs burned, his lungs screamed for air, but he didn't stop. The sky was heavy with dark clouds, and a steady drizzle blurred the outlines of the small, broken football field. The rusty goalposts leaned slightly, the net torn in a dozen places, and the chalk lines had faded into the mud. Yet for Ryan, this was more than just a ground. It was his dream's battleground. He stood motionless in the center of the field, breathing heavily, his shirt soaked in rain and sweat. Around him, his teammates slowly walked away, heads bowed, faces heavy with disappointment. The scoreboard behind him read home 0, visitors 3. Another loss, their 5th in a row. Ryan stared at the muddy ground, his shoes caked in dirt, the football lying a few feet away like a silent witness to his failure. The cheers that had once filled the field were gone. Only the sound of rain remained, dripping softly on the metal bleachers. He heard someone mutter, "We'll never win with him as captain." The words hit harder than any fall. He clenched his fists, his breath shaking. As the others disappeared into the fog, Ryan stayed. He dropped to his knees, pressing his hands into the wet earth. His reflection shimmered faintly in a puddle near his feet. Tired eyes, trembling lips, and a face that had forgotten how to smile. His coach had already left, muttering something about next season. His friends were heading home to warm dinners and dry clothes, but Ryan couldn't move. The weight of defeat pinned him to the ground. He thought of his father, who had been in the stands earlier, standing silently with his arms crossed. His father was a construction worker, strong, weathered, practical. He had never understood why Ryan spent so much time chasing a ball when there was real work to be done. "Maybe it's time to stop, son. You've tried enough," he had said last week, his tone calm but final. Those words replayed in Ryan's head like an echo that wouldn't fade. But how could he stop? Football was not a hobby for him. It was his escape, his purpose. When life at home got hard, when the world felt too loud, the field became his peace. The smell of wet grass, the feel of the ball at his feet, the dream of scoring that perfect goal. That was where he felt alive. As the rain grew heavier, Ryan finally stood up. His thin body shivered, his soaked jersey clinging to his skin. He picked up the football and held it close. "Why do I keep losing?" he whispered to the ball, his voice breaking. "I train every day. I give everything I have. So why do I still fail?" There was no answer, only the sound of raindrops striking the ground. He started walking home through the empty streets, shoes squelching in the mud. The city lights flickered faintly through the storm, reflecting on puddles that rippled with every drop. People hurried past him, umbrellas up, faces hidden. Ryan had no umbrella. He didn't care. His heart felt heavier than the rain could ever be. In this powerful motivational story, a young boy named Ryan stands alone on a muddy football field, defeated and broken after losing yet another match. The rain falls, his father's words echo in his mind. Maybe it's time to stop. But deep inside, Ryan makes a promise to try one last time. Not to prove others wrong, but to prove himself right. This emotional short story reminds us that failure isn't the end. It's the beginning of strength. No matter how many times you fall, rise again. Because the ones who never give up are the ones who truly win.